What's going on, guys? The 90 Show Biz, and I'm back with another banger. And in today's video, we have the 2025-2026 Premier League predictions. Yes, we're going to be predicting every team. We're going to be giving, a little talk about every team, where they placed last season, where I think they're going to be now. Just thoughts and stuff on every team. And again, guys, in this video, everything is opinion based only. Yes, it's strictly my opinion. So, I would love to hear your opinions also down below in the comments. So please make sure to leave that as well. And again, I'm sorry if, I rank your team too low or too high, but it's just what I think for this season. All right. And yes, this is the hardest. I think this is one of the hardest Premier League seasons to rank. I know a lot of people say this every year because they do it, because it's just hard in general. But I think this is one of the hardest seasons. I think we're going to get a good top four and a good relegation battle finally. So, let's just cross our fingers and hope. But without further ado, we kind of have it like a tier list here. So we're just going to place the teams and then we'll move them around and you guys will know and I'll guide you through it and stuff like that. So starting with, we're going to go from bottom to top, right? It's just only right. So starting with the relegation group, right? Number 20. I'm going to go ahead and just do it. I'm going to put Burnley down there. A lot of people have Burnley, I think, finishing 20th. I don't think it really matters whether you're 19, 20, or 18. I just think that, regardless, they're getting relegated. So, yeah. And again, like Burnley, I think just coming up to from the championship into the Premier League, it's just super difficult. And they also lost like their goalie Trafford. He's exceptional. He just signed to City, so it's just tough for them. I know their defense is pretty rock solid. Obviously they have Kyle Walker. They added, I think, Twanzebe it was. Also, he used to play for United a little bit. They did get Dubravka to replace Trafford. But again, who's scoring the goals is the real question here. I feel like it's just going to be difficult in the Prem, so I just have them in 20th for that reason. And yeah, last season they were in the championship, so next is 19th place. Now, some of these teams we're going to fly through them, and some of them, we'll take our time on them and really give our dive deep into them. Again, I haven't watched a lot of every single one of these teams. So, again, most of these predictions are just going to be based off of what I know. Obviously, I know the new signings and everything like that. So, it'll still be a great in-depth about all the teams. But yeah, so moving on to 19th place, we're going to do Leeds United. Let's put Burnley back there so they're 20th, because we're going to have them in order as well on the chart. So yeah, Leeds United, similar situation to Burnley. I think they're probably going to be a little bit better. They destroyed the championship last season. They were first. I think they're going to float into the Premier League and then back to they're going to float here and there. It's super tough. They signed, I think it was Shane Longstaff and Nemecha. So, they did a little bit on the market, which is good for them. They have Daniel James. They have some fast players, up top. But again, it's going to be hard. I think Burnley overall are solid in terms of their defense, but I think Leeds have a little more to offer going forward. It's not going to be super pretty. Again, the goals are not going to be easy, but that's just why I have them finishing a little bit above. But I think that both of these teams, in my opinion, get relegated for sure. Leeds maybe could push more towards that, to save themselves, but I think Burnley for sure. And then moving on to number 18. Now, this was a little bit tricky, right? It's always tough to see what's the last team getting relegated. I just chose Brentford. I know it's kind of shocking considering that they were 10th last season. I think from 10th, 18th, it's a big drop off. Yeah, 8 spots. But, think about it. They lost their core players and Mbeumo. They lost Norgard as well. I also think the biggest thing isn't even those players. I think it's their coach. I think now, with having a rookie and a new coach coming in, I think it's going to be super tough for them because, the vibes are just not going to be the same. And like I said, their key players are gone. And I think Mbeumo, I know I'm a United fan saying this, but I think he's I think that guy was really, really good. He really brought the power and the fire to Brentford. I think without him, they're a totally different team. Obviously they have Wisa and certain players, but they might go. We don't know yet. Again, this is up to date from August 8th. So we don't know what the transfer market's going to look like, moving forward. If they make a change or two, maybe they might get saved. Again, I'm not like 100% thinking they might get relegated, but I just have them there just because I think the relegation is going to be between Brentford and Wolves. Yeah. So I mean, and but they did bring in a Keller, which is he was a solid goalie when he played for Liverpool. Henderson as well, like captain, I'm pretty sure. So that's a lot of good leadership for them as well. And I know they brought in a lot more players. So they definitely did something. Like they definitely brought players back in for sure. But, is it going to be enough? We're just going to have to see. And yeah, so. And then that brings me to my 17th place team, which is going to be Sunderland. Here, let me just get Brentford in here real quick. There we go. Okay, so yeah, Sunderland is my 17th place team. Now, Sunderland, a lot of people I see having them not getting relegated, and I don't think they will either. And it's a little bit tricky because usually it's easy to just put the three teams that got promoted in relegation. But I just think, I don't know, it's just something about Sunderland. Like, I think they had a nice little story last in when they made it to the Premier League. I think they had a crazy game to finish. I know Joe Bellingham obviously isn't on this team no more, but I don't think just one player would get him through. I think it was a collective thing. And I think now with the amount of signings that they have, I think they were one of the most active teams on the bottom. So I think obviously if their players can mesh well, right? Like if they can mesh like well early, I definitely think that they have a chance to, like stay safe and not relegated. Because obviously they got, Granit Xhaka, which again, he's most likely going to get promoted as captain, right? And then you have Guyi, which I think Guyi is going to be a player to watch. I think he's going to be a stud on that team for sure. I think that was a nice signing for them. And then you have Diarra as well, and then you got a Dingra. So I think they have some nice pacey. Even with that experience of Xhaka, I think I really like the move, like the direction they went with for their signings. The question is gonna be, right, how quickly they can adapt, because when you're coming again from Championship moving into the Premier League, it's really difficult. And now you're just adding a bunch of players, and we've seen this before where you add a bunch of players, in, and then it's like it doesn't really do anything for you and you get relegated again. So again, it's definitely possible for them to get relegated again for sure. Again, none of these teams over here are safe. But I think if there's a team from the bottom three that got promoted, I think Sunderland, in my opinion, have the best chance just because they made a splash and they signed a lot of players, and I think they spent a little over 100 million. So that's just why I have them there. Next is Wolves. Now I mentioned it earlier, right? I said that Wolves are the only other team besides Brentford that have a chance of getting relegated, I think, from the teams that stayed from last season. And I say that because I think Wolves, right, is like a really weird team, right? Because it's like they're just very unpredictable. Like they can either get relegated or they could just barely make it. Like it's one of those teams where even watching them for the past seasons, I mean, yeah, they had Cunha, right? Now they lost Cunha. But I think even when they had him, like, like not a lot of people had belief in them too much, right? Where you thought like, okay, like when are these guys getting eliminated? Like we always see Wolves right there, but it's like they can never make that jump to get to the mid table. So it's like it's just difficult for them. I know they signed Strand Larson, right? Who's a great number 9. He performed really good for them. I think he's going to be definitely solid to try to keep them there. But the question is, can they keep the consistency? That's the real question, right? And last season they were 16th, right? So I just think it's like last season they were 16th. I think 16th again is not a bad spot for them considering they lost Cunha and he was a big piece for them. But I don't think he was as big of a piece as Mbeumo was for Brentford. I know Brentford had like more players that were like, scoring like Wisa, like, but I just think it's just different. And also Wolves defend too. Like their defensive record I think is pretty solid. I think them and Everton are like they sit really deep. So I just think like, I think they're just going to barely save themselves once again. I mean, yeah. Next, right now, this gets a little tricky again because I had West Ham here, and honestly, it's tough putting West Ham there. I think last season, well, before we get into that, they finished 14th, right? and now I'm putting them in 15th. So I think a small drop off, and it's tough because I just didn't know where to put them because I do think West Ham will be better, right? But it's so weird saying that, and then I have them 15th. I just think the Prem right now is so difficult. It's not. It's really difficult. It's not easy. So I think like it just all depends. I mean, like I think they have great individual signings. I think they made great individual signings, right? They signed Tadibo. They have Walker Peters. They actually just added some depth at their striker position to get Callum Wilson, right? We saw him in the Prem before. So they got some decently Prem proven players, right? Even Diop too. So I just feel like with them, it's more of like, right, Jared Bowen's going to perform, right? You have Wan-Bissaka, obviously a great player. I think it just all depends. I think Fulkrug is going to be like the player to watch. I think he's going to have a better season, right? Having a full training camp and like actually, having some more time in the Prem. I think he's definitely going to be more solid for them, for sure. And I think that's what keeps them like, not in relegation. And I see people even having West Ham relegated, which to me is kind of crazy. That's exactly the reason why, though, I'm not too mad at putting them where I have them right now because, it's like the goal is to get as close as you can. Obviously, you want to be right, but that's just the goal there. So I just think if they don't have a pretty good start to the season, it can get scary for them because I think, like I said, the Prem's not easy. And I think the other teams that I'm going to mention, I mean, I'm not saying they can't compete with them, but it's going to be super tough to just, consistently say that they're going to be better considering that those teams were always mid-table and performed all the time. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a lot of drop-offs. I mean, Tottenham and United last season being so low, I think now there's going to be more teams that are going to drop a little more down. And then moving on to 14th place, right? So in 14th, I have Fulham, right? And last season they were 11th, right? Which was kind of shocking to me because not saying that they were bad. I mean, they had their number 9, and then, you have Traore, who's always been like a beast on the wing. But I just feel like with how the Prem is, I didn't expect them to be so high up. Maybe like, I mean, they're right around 11th. They were 11th. So I'd say like maybe 13th, 14th is what I would have them. And that's why I have them 14th right now. I think they had a little bit of movement on the market, but not really. I think they kind of just have their same core that they had last season. And I mean, if they have something going with their coach and everything like that, that's always sometimes really good because a lot of these teams are changing this season. So just to have your same players and like possibly, they could definitely, make a push. But I don't see them going too high. So, I mean, I just have them there. I don't have much to say about them, but we'll see what happens. And then moving on to 13th place. Now, I have Bournemouth in 13th. And honestly, they had one of the, I'm not even trolling. They had one of the best seasons last season. I think it probably was their highest season, like their highest placement, I think 9th. But I'm not sure too much, so don't quote me on it. But I just think, like, they lost a lot. They lost their entire defense pretty much. Like, Bournemouth had a rock-solid defense. And it was surprising that they didn't even finish higher. But the question is, right, I mean, they're well coached, right? I think they're well coached. I don't think they're going to be that strong this season to go higher. Yeah, they signed Petrovic, so, like, they got a nice replacement goalie, Truffert, Junior Krupi, but I still think that it's like I feel like certain players, right, just can't be replaced. And I think the wall that they had on defense last season, I think this season it's just going to be super tough for them. Like again, but 13th is solid because they don't fall too much, right? It's a decent drop, but it's not like the worst. And also like you're obviously not in relegation, so I think they should be happy with it because I know they were fighting relegation before. So I mean, yeah. And then with 12th place now, moving on to the higher mid-table, right? I'm going to put in Everton, right? And, I think Everton this season are definitely going to be way more exciting, right? I think Everton fans have a lot to look forward to. I think the last couple of seasons battling relegation all the time, it was super tricky. Like, it's obviously not a place you want to be. I think now, though, they're definitely going to be more safe. I think they're not going to be in that zone anymore, considering that, they made some upgrades. And honestly, I think their midfield is well improved. I think now they have players that can bring up the ball. I think they always lacked that number 9 and that attacking threat. They're one of the best. I really like their defense. Obviously, like, their captain. They have Branthwaite as well. Like, they have those three really good defenders that are like really solid, right? Again, we don't know what's gonna happen with transfers and stuff like that, but I still think that they stay enough to where they're solid. And now they have a great new coach, right? David Moyes. I think he's gonna be the key reason why this Everton team is gonna be mid-table and make some noise, and they're gonna make it hard for teams. Obviously, with how their defensive and the way they play, I think they're gonna make it super hard for a lot of teams. And I won't even be surprised if they even get to 10th. They signed Alcaraz, Barry, even Dewsbury Hall just got signed. So I think just players that could just get that ball up, attacking threats, try to score some goals. I think that's super important for them. So that's just the reason why I have them there. Again, they do lack high firepower, but again, that's just most teams in the mid-table. So I think that's just where I have them right now. And then at number 11, guys, we have Crystal Palace. Now, with Crystal Palace, they were 12th last season. I have them 11th. I think they're always going to be in that range for now. I think they're not bad at all to be in the relegation zone, but then they're also they need that next player to really get there, I think. And obviously they lost a key player. They lost a key player, and now they're just down to Eze. They have Gui. Their team is still pretty solid enough to compete for sure. They actually won a cup last season too, so that's tippable as well. But obviously with that cup win, I don't know if their roster is going to be deep enough. That's just kind of why. I still have them going up a spot. It's tricky though, because Everton can go ahead of them, or it's just tricky. That's just why I have them in those areas. I don't think they're gonna really move though. Anywhere from 13th to 11th, I don't think they're gonna move. And again, yeah, the depth it's gonna be tricky for sure. And I think that's what scares me is the squad upgrades is just not, they just have a cap to their ceiling. So I think eventually probably Eze too is probably gonna move on. So it's tough for sure. And then moving on to 10th place, guys, we have Nottingham Forest. Now, this team, guys, last season very strong, 7th place. Now I have them in 10th. Not that bad, obviously. They did lose. I'm blanking on his name. Winger from United, Alanga. Yeah, they did lose Alanga. But again, their defense is still really solid. They still have Chris Wood, right? A nice goal scorer. You can guarantee goals from him. I think they definitely have some depth in certain key areas for sure. They might not be super good enough to push Europe yet, but I do think this season is really going to be a test for them because, like I said, United and Tottenham, I feel like pushing more up now. I feel like, and obviously with Everton getting better, and then you have the likes of Bournemouth that are always going to be there as well. I think that this is their time to show can they do it again? Can they get to that close to those Europe spots again? I don't see it fully happening, but again, I don't honestly, if I'm being honest with you, we'll get back to why, because when you see the teams ahead of them, so that's kind of why. But I won't be surprised if they get to 9th or even 8th. But I think that's just their ceiling. I don't think they're gonna get any higher unless they add another talent. But yeah, I think they added Igor and Doye, so I think not bad signings for sure, just to get the depth there. And again, they're not really playing for anything, in Europe or anything like that. So that's what can also help them. And I think from a lot of these teams here, like Crystal Palace, Everton, Bournemouth, all these teams, I think they have the most depth. And the good thing about them is, like I said, they're not in any competitions in Europe. So I think that's just going to, boost them a little bit more. Now, moving on to number 9. Now, I'm sorry, Tottenham fans. I know you guys are going to hate me, right? You guys beat us last season, so you have that, okay? But yeah, so I have them 9th, and honestly, I don't think that's the worst spot for them, right? Last season they were 17th, and I feel them, us and them and United, injuries were really, really, really horrible for us. And again, they're still talented. They lost Heung-min Son, which is huge. Obviously, Madison has had that tear; he's gonna be out. So it's like you lose a lot of craft and creativity down the middle. So it's going to be super tough to just, replace those type of players. But obviously you get, Tell, you get Kudus, you get Paulinha. So you have the patch, like the patches are still there for your team. And obviously now you have to play Champions League as well. So I think that's the main reason why I have him in ninth. I know a lot of people even have him lower, just like United, like they have us even more lower. So I don't think that's a horrible spot. It's gonna be tough between them and Forest. I think it was super tricky to see who to put ahead, but I just put them ahead. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the rest of the transfers. But again, yeah, I think Champions League is definitely going to be tough for them to. And again, their defense too. I think that's one of the problems. I think if Van de Ven, like Udagi, like if all of them can stay healthy, they have a major shot at it. But if they don't, that's going to be the key thing. There's not a lot to go based off of last season. So yeah, in eighth place, I have Newcastle United, and I feel like Newcastle United, man, they missed out on so many key targets. I think it's so painful for them right now. Obviously, Isaac wanting to leave. We don't know what's going to happen with him yet. I just think it's been so painful for them. And I'm sorry, but to add to the pain, I'm going to put them in eighth. And again, it was super tough because I felt like they could even be seventh or even sixth. But I don't know. It just depends what happens with Isaac. Like if Isaac leaves, I don't see this team being as good as they were. I think he's a huge piece to them. If he stays, again, the push can still be there. It's just, it's hard with the vibes. But obviously you add Alanga, right? You have Ramsdale now, so you have the little bit of depth. But I think the scariest part about this Newcastle team, which is why I'm not so high on them, right, is their depth. Because the last couple of seasons, right, or last season, right, for example, let's just use that. They finished fifth, right? They were in a UCL spot. But their depth, though, was absolutely horrible, and it was really hard to get them through. So I think that again is it's gonna pay. It's gonna make them pay. I think when you look at their starting 11 after that, it's gonna make them pay for sure. And that's just the main reason why I have them in eighth. Next for seventh place, right? This is and I feel like this is a really underrated team. I have Brighton finishing seventh. Last season they were eighth. I think they will make that jump one more spot. Again, depending on how Newcastle and Tottenham do, it just all depends again with those teams right there. But I think Tottenham, Newcastle, and not even. I think Brighton, Tottenham, and Forest are kind of similar. I think Newcastle, depending on how their players stay healthy and how Champions League goes, I think they could definitely be ahead of those teams. But I just think they're kind of all in that same range right now just because of the European competitions as well. But with Brighton, right, I think they have one of the smartest recruitments. I really tip their recruitments. I love their players. Obviously, Baleba's been rumored a lot. Exciting talent there. But I don't know. I mean, they added the Cooper, right? The Cooper, Boscagli. They added a lot of more players. So they definitely added, their transfer market has been very active. You definitely see that they want to push for that next step, right? The question is, right, because they're really young. And the question is, can they make it over that hump? And I feel like I just feel like they're so invested in their young players and their signings that and their academy and all that stuff that I think they're always going to sit in that spot for now until they can get that next star to make that next push. But again, I don't think that's bad. I mean, if you're Brighton, I mean, it's fun to watch, to see what new talents can come up. But yeah, so I just feel like I have them there. And I mean, again, not finishing in Europe last season, again, they're going to have players that are fresh. It's going to be way easier for them and they can definitely make some noise. So I that's why I have them in seventh. And now to, sixth place now, right? I have Manchester United. Again, I know this is probably the most controversial team to talk about on this list just because I feel like, the signings we made, how we were last season, one of the biggest clubs, in the Premier League. It's just crazy right now. And again, I'm not going to go on a huge rant because, you could save that for another video right now. But with a few things to say, so for one, right, we were 15th last season. I just feel like, I love our recruitments. I will say this is one of the best windows that we've had. I think, signing Leon, I don't know if a lot of people like watched a lot, but I think Leon, him being a back, I think he's really, really talented. I think he was a great signing for us. He in preseason he was like exceptional. Obviously it's preseason, but again, still a young player that wasn't even Premier League proven, and he just comes in and looks really good. So I think that's always good for us, right? Especially because we need patching in our defenses. And then you have Cunha and Mbuemo, right? Again, two really exceptional, great players in the Premier League, 15, 20 goals ish on both. I think that adds a lot to United's attack. And again, Premier League proven is the main best thing for United. So you got that, right? And then I think Benjamin Sesko too, coming in right now, super late in the transfers as well. You're gonna get him in time to train and start the season off. So I think United definitely have their attack now. I think when you look at our attack from the last couple of seasons and you see this now, it's like you definitely have to be worried. I think if they can hit the ground running and Amarin's tactics or his project that he's trying to plan, because I think the players have a lot of belief in him, and it definitely shows in preseason. I think. And I haven't really been able to say this a lot, but I do think United in preseason looked very, very good. And I think Amarin having a full season of now he's going to have, the summer camp, an actual full season. I think United's definitely going to be a whole different team. And again, I know a lot of people are like, okay, but why sixth or top four? Like you guys are being delusional or whatever. And again, they could be sixth, they could be seventh, they can be eighth. Regardless, I just have them around Europe because I feel like with the demand that we should have for a club and with how this preseason has gone and how I see like Amarin really changing our players, I don't think people really understand it until they really watch every game and really realize and understand like what's going on. You could definitely see a change because obviously, we've been suffering for a while now, and I like we can see it from our players. So I think they're going to be definitely more fun to watch for sure. But again, I still think like, obviously our injuries last season though too, like I feel like if it wasn't for that, not to use it as an excuse, but we were literally first in the most injuries. I feel like if it wasn't for that, we would definitely be, obviously we wouldn't have been top four regardless, but I still think we would be like close to that like mid-table, like that 10th, 8th push. So, and I think now, again, having a full season and these new players, it just depends on how fast they're going to, group together. I really think that it can get scary. So I'm excited to watch it, and that's just kind of why I have us in sixth. Let's hope, it happens. We'll see. But like I said, I'm not going to go on a big rant about it, but that's just kind of my thoughts on everything like that. Moving on to number 5. Now, I'm just going to say it. I think Villa is going to be up there. Last season, they were 6th. They were in Europa, so obviously they have Europa to play for. Europa is definitely more easier than the Premier League. I don't think it's going to be that hard on the players. So I definitely think that Aston Villa are safe there because they have a chance to win Europa, come back, like back into the European competitions no matter how they finish. But I also think, right, with Brighton, like always being around that area and like, United not being for sure and like Tottenham and all these teams, I think Villa is more of like the experience than more of like the guarantee that they should be in the top 5 because obviously their team is very like, you have Watkins, who's exceptional and he's going to stay obviously. You have Morgan Rogers, who I think is going to take on a bigger role and definitely push this team through. I just think that Villa are when you look at these teams, right, from 5th to like 7th or 8th, I think besides Newcastle, I think Villa are, more up there. So I definitely have them there. I think that's just a safer pick to pick them. Last season, they were in 6th. So I think, right around that area is good for them. So, yeah. But, yeah, no major losses for them. They're a very settled squad. And obviously, Unai Emery's a great coach. So I think they're in good hands for right now. But, yeah. Next is Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, yes, I have Chelsea in 4th. Now, this top 4, right? Let me just... Okay, actually, we won't put it yet. But, yeah, so this top 4 was super hard. Again, like, I think these 4 teams right here are going to be top 4. I don't... Like, the order would be a little trickier, but I think they're definitely going to be top 4. I think, I don't think Newcastle... it's not that they can't get top four yet. I just with the Isaac situation right now, it's so hard to put them there. But I think if there's a team besides Newcastle, I don't really see it happening right now. That's why I'm saying I have these guys in the top four. And again, it's gonna all come down to Champions League football and how well they stay fit and the signings and all that stuff. Because one new signing can really change a lot of teams. So I have Chelsea there, right? Great young core, of course. They're looking to just build it. I think personally the reason why Chelsea can even go third, right? I have them fourth to play the safe game, but I think even third is really good, and I think they can make that push close. I don't think they're ready yet, but they're definitely close because so their midfield, right? Of Caicedo and Enzo, I think that's one of the scariest midfields and one of the best midfielders, one of the best midfield duos in Europe. I think they're gonna be scary to watch. And I feel like you add Cole Palmer to that. I just think these guys are going to be really good. Obviously they just came off of a great season, winning. Finishing in the top four after what they've been going through, right? Winning the FIFA World Cup. I just think that momentum's going to ride. And I think with their signings like Estevao, Joao Pedro, Gittins, Sar, Delap, like they're adding more, talent up top and that depth. So I think Joao Pedro's a great signing for them. You still have Delap there to, for that balance and depth. I think Gittins is also another good signing. Gittins is going to be nice too. I really like that. Estevao, we've heard good things about him. So I just think, man, this team's going to look good. I think if anything, you can change Chelsea and probably who I'm going to have third. But I think besides that, I think that's more of like how we could do things. That's just my thoughts on them. Now, moving on to number 3, I have Manchester City. And the reason why I have City there, again, I think personally, right, Rodri coming back into this team, right? A lot of people probably didn't remember, but Rodri was literally Ballon d'Or status, right? I think they also made some pretty good signings. I think for City to be a top 3 team in the past couple of years and to still make some pretty good signings after they had to make some players leave, I think that's super solid for them. They were third last season, so I'm going with them to finish third again. I just think Marmoush also, I think he's going to fit pretty well also, giving him some time to mesh a little bit. They have, so their midfield creativity, right, to talk about that. So obviously they lost Kevin De Bruyne. I still think that with losing Kevin De Bruyne, as much as he brought to this team, I think with his injuries and stuff like that going on, I think it was time to move on. And I think since he's more of like a slower player in the midfield and stuff like that, like his finesse and like the way he passes the ball and the shots that he takes and stuff like that, I just feel like now they're gonna have a more fast-paced midfield that moves a lot. So I think even losing him is fine because they're still in that same shape. They still have Pep, So it's like, I think they did pretty good so far. So I still think they're going to be dangerous. And again, they could finish second. I still think they could take second. I think second, third is where they're going to be. I don't think they're going to get to fourth, but I think that's like the area that I have them in. But again, any of these teams can be interchangeable. So real quick, Ryan Cherky, right? They added out Nori. Rangers and Trafford, huge signings. I think Rangers is going to be a really good signing. I even think Cherokee's not going to be bad at all. I think he was a special talent to watch too. You obviously add that defender in there as well, and then you add Trafford, who's a depth piece. And then if Ederson is rumored to leave or whatever happens, you still have your goalie. So I think in all spots of the game they're good. I think I think City are going to be just fine. And they're just looking to get back to their top spot again. So yeah. Now moving on to number 2, this was a little bit difficult, but to play the safe game, Arsenal second, Liverpool first. I mean, come on. I do have Liverpool winning the league. They're just too good, man. I mean, they've signed so many players, new players. They have a lot of pieces. They spent a lot of money. And it's going to be hard. I do think, though, Arsenal, we're going to talk about them first. They got the striker that they needed, Gyökeres. I think he's going to be really good in the Premier League. He's going to be fun to watch, exciting. But it's going to come down to, can he adjust fast and can he adjust early? I think no matter what, Arsenal will finish in the top 3. I don't see them going lower than top 3. But I think no matter what though, uh, I think Gyökeres is still going to be good. It just depends. If he gets rolling fast, I think this is going to be a really close top two race. If not, I think Arsenal are going to be, because their preseason hasn't looked good. And again, it's preseason. Yes, we get it. But still, you got to go based off something. And but I think when he gets fully fit and everything like that, he will be fun to watch. But also, it's not even that that's the main problem. I also think that they have other problems like their left wing position. I'm not too keen on Martinelli fully. I think if they had another addition to their left winger, I think they could be special. Because Saka's obviously going to have his season, but if you have that depth on both sides, it's gonna be really good for them. So I think that's another thing that they have to worry about. But obviously they had Gyökeres, Madueke. I don't know. Madueke to me was a weird signing. But I mean, again, they need the winger pieces. I just think he was a little too expensive, but whatever. Zubamendi as well. They added that. He's going to be good. And then Norgard. So I think their midfield is definitely nice structured. Like Odegaard, Norgard, Zubamendi, Marino, and I'm even missing some other guys as well. Like their midfield is going to be good. And that's another thing why I kind of separate certain teams. I think Arsenal and Liverpool have really good midfields, and especially Chelsea as well. I mean, all four of these top teams have great midfields, and that's kind of why United and certain teams like United or whoever else is not really in that top four yet, because I think that these other teams they're just gonna run you through their midfield. So, but yeah, so I think a lot of these teams in the top four, I think they're close, like they're there. They're just missing that one thing, or like every time they get so close, kind of like how Arsenal has been, at the end just something falls apart. So if they could just get that figured out, and hopefully Gyökeres, like I said, is the striker they need, I think they could definitely challenge. But I'm really excited for this season though. So yeah. So moving on to number one, Liverpool. Now, there's not much to say about him. Obviously, it as a United fan, it hurts because Liverpool, like you don't want to see him up there. But I tip it, man. I mean, I think Arne Slot is an exceptional coach. I actually really I love him as a coach. I think that they lucked out on getting rid of Jurgen Klopp and still managing to have an amazing manager. I think that was super good, and I still think their signings were pretty good too. Like you look at who they brought in. You know, Florian Wirtz. I think that was an amazing signing, and a lot of people talk about him that he might not be that good right away. I think he's gonna have that finesse in the midfield. He's gonna get comfortable, and when he does, he's gonna be really good. I think he was one of the best young players to watch. He could even be one of the best players in the like. He could be one of the best players in the Prem. Like how they give those awards out. He could win that too. I mean, it all just depends how it's gonna plan out. But I think he's gonna be good. And then you have Frimpong as well, who you replace, Arnold in a way. I think they're both two attack-minded players. They don't really defend a lot, so I think you still have that craft there too. And then you have Kirkes, which I mean, again, another great defender. He literally almost won Young Player of the Year last season. So I mean, like, and then you have Ekatike, which Ekatike, in my opinion, I think that's going to be a little bit of, I wouldn't say a problem, but I think that's going to be their, like, it's a little weird with Liverpool because like they don't have like a really 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 key like number 9. Arsenal obviously just got it. You have Holland for City. So I think Chelsea and Liverpool just lack that a little bit. But again, with the way Liverpool play, I think that it's not a big issue for them because they have a lot of players that can slot into that spot. So I think it's fine. And I think Cody Gakpo is going to have a great season too. Obviously, rest in peace to Jota after what happened, losing him. I think Gakpo is going to have a way better season. He's going to get more involved in the goals. And then now you sign Florian Wirtz, obviously. So I just think you give Salah that, like, you give him more assists, but you also give him that extra, space to create for you too. So it's just, I think it's really nice. And then they also have, their goalie, Mamardashvili, who's, that's another depth piece for them too. So I think they're in a really good spot, man. Strong title contenders. I think they're the clear favorites to me. But again, I won't be surprised if Arsenal, do something to try. And I think this is going to be, if they do it, this is going to be their 4th season finishing second. And it's not bad to finish second, but the worst part is that there hasn't been a lot of trophies in a long time. So, it's obviously horrible for them, but, maybe this could be their year. Who knows? But that's just what I'm gonna leave you guys with. Those are my thoughts and opinions on everything. And again, like I said, this is just all opinion based. What I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments as well. I would love to hear and see. I mean, good luck to all the teams and everybody else. It's going to be a great Premier League season. So, make sure to stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of other videos popping out. So make sure to check out our other ones as well. We're going to have some gameplay from FC26 and all that good stuff, man. It's all football at the end of the day. So it's going to be fun. And just to wrap things up a little bit, because I did say I'll do it for the awards. I've never really done this. So I'm just going to, it's just literally like off the top of my head. So for Manager of the Year, I'm going to give it to Arne Slot. I'm pretty sure he won it last season, but I think this season is going to be like where he really gets solidified, because last season, right, you kind of had more of the players that Klopp had. You kind of transitioned. So I feel like now this season it's going to be like, okay, we won the Champions League, but can we keep that going? Can we keep our foot on the gas pedal? Can we still do it? And I think if he can do it, I think he'll probably get it most likely. I think it'll just be between him and the Arsenal manager, just because the Arsenal manager is young and but I mean Pep's obviously in the running for that too. So it depends, but I'm gonna go with Arne Slot. I think that's the safer choice. For Golden Boot, I'm gonna go Salah. I mean last season he had like what was it, close to around 30 goals. Like I don't think, I mean besides Haaland, I don't really see anybody getting to that point. So, I mean, and the two goal scorers that United just brought in that were in the top 10, like Mbermo and Cunha, I think Cunha is going to be more of like he's going to be more creative in a way. So I think Mbermo would have had the chance, but it just, with him being in United for the first season, it's I don't see it. So I think Saka's a great safe choice for that. And then for Player of the Year, I went Saka because I wanted to give something to Saka. He's so good that it's like you can give him all of these rewards. You can literally add him to them, and it won't be faded. Like it'll be a great take. So I'm gonna put him for Player of the Year. I think if Arsenal do win and get first, I think he's gonna obviously play an insane part into it. Besides Gyökeres, so I think you just gotta give him something. And then for Young Player of the Year, I'm gonna go Morgan Rogers. I think that's a huge shout. I think he's gonna I don't know. I just feel like he's going to play a huge role for Villa, and I think he's going to have a great – and I said it in my last video too, if you haven't watched that. I think he's going to be so fun to watch. He's a huge part of Unai Emery's, what he's doing over there at Villa. So that's just who I'm going to go with. I think those are pretty cool. And just to throw out something new there, because a lot of people are going to probably have the same ones. But yeah, so there you guys have it, man. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. As always, it was fun. This is literally my favorite video of the year every time, and I love doing these. So we'll see at the end of the season how I did, and we'll judge how I did at the end. But for now, man, everything's an opinion, and we won't know until we know. So again, good luck to everybody in the season, man. I hope you guys have a great watch and start to the season. And as always, the biz is out. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'm out. Peace.